So we're just continuing with our water series, and I wanted to show you how to make a filter out of some trash and the natural environment around you.
Why do you need pine needles?
Because it's gonna stop all the other stuff that we're using to filter from falling through. So the pine needles go in first, and that way our sand and our charcoal will be held, and it gives it some structure to our filter. That's why we're looking for pine needles first. Cool, so I got a handful of pine needles, and these are Virginia pine, but it's gonna go in to the bottom, and that's just gonna give kind of like the cheesecloth effect down at the bottom. It's gonna keep all of our granular charcoal and sand from falling through. So that's step number one. So in this bucket, I have charcoal, and it's really easy to produce and get when you have a fire at camp. Editor cut to what a fire looks like at camp, and then yeah. Anyway, I'll stop bullshitting now. So these charcoal flakes come out of the fire, and this has a lot of carbon in it and a lot of surface area. So when the water is poured over this, that contaminant is going to find its way into the holes and bond with the carbon to give you a cleaner drinking source of water. And when we pull this out of the fire, we're looking for that rich black charcoal. We're not looking for the white. That means that the carbon is already burned up. So we're interrupting the fire process to give us this charcoal that we want. So we got right much in there. We've added our activated charcoal and a little bit of pine needles at the bottom to keep all of that falling through. But now we need to add something that's going to catch the little particulate, because you can see all those holes in the activated charcoal. It's just not going to catch anything. And that's where sand comes in.
2 hours later.
Now the sand goes on top and we pat it down flat. And this system can be huge if you want it to be. Or it can be a small size like this. Like if you're building a water filter for your apartment complex, this might be a trash can. But so we've got a good base of our filter, and now we're gonna go to the creek and get some water and see how this works.
So how much of our viewers do you think live in apartment complexes and build water filters out of trash cans?
Well, I mean, if we've got any viewers from Flint, Michigan, maybe they should start. Like, water quality is a huge issue, and sure, we live in this great nation known as the United States, but still, not everybody has access to drinking water. That's why these skills are so important. If the power goes off, if you don't have water in your area, if you're pioneering, you're out there on the landscape cutting timber and you want water but you didn't bring a filter with you, here's one way to kind of get you back through.
No, explain the bowl.
This? It's a gargle jug. I was just going to use it to pour water into the hole.
But what shape is it?
It's a fish. Have you seen these before? They make cool sounds when you pour water.
Okay.
So we pour the water in. It's catching that first layer of particulate in the sand, the biggest stuff, the branches, the leaves, the bugs. And as the water drips through, you'll see all that remain up top. Now you're like, Scott, the water is not penetrating all the way through, and how do we catch it? Well, what's cool about these bottles, and you can make this in a lot of ways, but by modulating the pressure of the cap and the turning, we can get a little bit of water to come through. And we just want the slowest drip we can, because the longer that the water stays in contact with the carbon in the activated charcoal, the more material that it's going to have time to bond with and make our water cleaner. Now, we've just built this, so it might take a couple flushes to get all that little particulate out, so we may see a little bit of charcoal granulated water when that starts to come out. But we need to just keep adding water to the top, and we need to do a really good job being careful not to spill it. Because if we have contaminated water that hits this edge, once we start going to collect our water down below, we might be contaminating our drinking source. And you see how this is still a little bit cloudy? That's okay, because as we wash out all the little particulate from that carbon, we'll leave the bigger stuff there, and it'll clear up over time. So this might not be a filter that works the first time through. So we're collecting our water as it drips out. And this water might go back in for a filtering the second time. And we do this until it comes out clear. Now again, it's not 100% safe to drink. The only way to do that would be this, and then boiling. And even the Red Cross recommends a chemical purification method after that. But this is much more effective than just drinking water out of the creek as far as your survivability is concerned.
Where do you rank this as far as water collecting methods go?
This is essential. This is an essential water collecting method because, particularly in contaminated regions, like we do a lot of survival trips into West Virginia, and in mining regions, you're going to find heavy metal everywhere. You'll see it as kind of like a milky substance on the side of a river. You don't want that in your system. I know people that over time have been exposed to that. It actually made her face go paralyzed on one side. So there's an extreme risk of drinking heavy metal contaminants. And the activated charcoal filter is the only way that I know to 100% remove the heavy metal contaminants. So yeah, that's why we teach this method.